This is my 2004 Chrysler Crossfire, and it might actually be a collectible car that you can afford. I bought this one slightly damaged, of course, for only about 600 bucks plus fees and that type of stuff at the insurance auto auction. So this is a major bargain, down from the MSRP of about $35,000 back in 2004. Now, if you'd like to read more about my experiences with this Crossfire, feel free to stop by don'tgiveacrap.com/oversteer. Now, the Crossfire was actually something created during the merger of Chrysler and Mercedes, that whole Daimler Chrysler time frame. So it was actually built off of their SLK series, which seemed to do really good over as a Mercedes, but it kind of flopped around and didn't do so well over here with the Crossfire. Now, Chrysler really tried hard to make this a success. They tried to check all the boxes of a classic coupe in 2004 with its aggressive retro style lines, classic comfy interior, and a decently powered engine for that time. Unfortunately, there was one big box that they forgot to check, and that was the price. At an MSRP of about $35,000, you can get yourself into a slightly used 350 horsepower C5, and it would get you just about the same amount of gas mileage as well. So they really dropped the ball trying to wedge into that sport coupe arena. So even though it was priced out of competition, there's still something to be had about this little car, and even today it looks pretty cool and stands up to the stylings of any modern car. Now, what probably makes this car stand out versus any other modern vehicle or anything is probably the body styling. It harkens back to some of the most beautiful car lines in the past. Pretty much like a bunch of these I'm going to show you in just a second here. Now, essentially we know where Chrysler got the inspiration for, but most people will probably say that they fell a little bit flat in execution, but honestly I think it's a pretty cool vehicle. But now it's time to get into the quirks and features of this vehicle. Now, in the trunk, if you can really call it that, you can see that you have quite a small area. Never mind the panels. Quite a small area that you can just shove a couple little things like suitcase and that type of stuff. But unfortunately, due to the unique shape of the vehicle, you've got this tiny window that you have to look out. Although very common in today's supercars, the Chrysler Crossfire actually had a deployable wing that would rise at speed. Now, inside the car you have a classic dark leather interior. Decent, soft style, not that hard plastic. Much of what you would expect of a semi-luxury vehicle back in 2004. Then you have the European spec shifter. So where we usually have reverse down and over, reverse on this one is actually over. Got to pull the stick up to get all the way over and back for reverse. The window controls are right here on the center console, along with heated seats, the spoiler control, traction control, door locks, a it's a anti-tow feature of the car alarm. So if something were to jack up the back, it'd go off like that. And then right down in here in the center, in an unmarked switch, is your mirror control. The other interesting feature we have, aside from the small little cubby box, is your cup holder. It's just a simple click and it arrives. Now the downside is, as it gets older, it doesn't go away very well. Like the lap of luxury. Now the other thing that's quite annoying with this cup holder is, as you're coming through, catching your shifts, your elbow likes to press that. And now you're trying to shift with a cup holder, and it's just not a good idea. Later models came with a little pocket cubby thing for like a cell phone or something, which was definitely a needed upgrade for this cup holder fiasco. Stereo and climate control were pretty much the standard affair back in 2004. Standard little Infinity CD player and now, despite it only having 215 horsepower, it actually seems to have quite a bit more torque than you would expect for other small sports coupes. Essentially, I really only have my supercharged Tiburon to base everything off of. So, that actually seems to have a little more higher RPM horsepower, where this one seems to have that extra torque kick. The suspension is relatively stiff, kind of like you'd expect with a sports car style. Not anything too uncomfortable. The power steering box, although being power steering box, although being one of those recirculating ball style steering box versus a rack and pinion, actually seems to be quite responsive and quite stable. One of the things that I have noticed that I don't really like about it, the clutch has a weird feel to it. Instead of having a linear movement and actuation, it seems to have a pivot point where it suddenly becomes easier to hold. It's kind of a disconcerting feeling, because right where the clutch wants to grip is where it changes pressure. So it kind of lacks the feel that you kind of get used to driving other vehicles. Now, one of the last things that kind of gets annoying to me is the placement of these stalks. It's like your blinker stock is here and cruise control is up here. Now, the issue I have is I'm used to all the other vehicles I have where you have your hand up here and you reach up and grab your blinker. That's not the blinker. The blinker's down here. So it doesn't really seem to be in the same... It's like, well, you're driving like this, which is how most people drive stick shift cars. Hook your finger up here so you get that leverage, shift through the gears. You need to be able to flip the blinker without moving your hand. But that's not a thing. So I guess with this one you gotta drive with your thumb down here or so. Despite its few shortcomings and the fact that Jeremy Clarkson thinks it looks like a dog taking a dump, the Chrysler Crossfire could actually become a classic car sometime in the future. Unfortunately, it might not go that way, but it's got all the requirements, and who knows. But with the way they're selling on auctions, it's going to be one of those cars that nobody wants. But we'll keep it, and we're going to modify it. Alright, now that we're done with our Doug bit here, we ended up with a new wheel. Not too bad. It's got a slight dent on the other side, but the tires that the previous owner put on here look hideous on here. Apparently they must have been into that stretch tire fad thing. This is like a 245 or something like that. We'll go through and annihilate these tires and put on something a little more aggressive, like maybe a 295. Like a 295/30 would actually do pretty good on here. But our Hillbilly McGhetto body work seems to have gotten the majority of that stuff out. Now, if you're just going for a turd flip, he could just Bondo right over that and just smear it in smooth and paint her up, and nobody would really know the difference. But all in all, she's still a pretty sharp looking car. By the time we're done with it, even Corvettes are going to be scared of it. Alright, so if you want to see more, like, subscribe, and all that stuff, and tell your friends. Tell your friends' friends, and your friend's mom's parents, and the parents' mom's friend, and yeah. Tell everybody. Hey, did you know episodes of Driveway premiere 30 seconds earlier? If you go by and buy my crap at don'tgiveadang.com on demand and stuff and shizzle, and we don't do that. See you later.